Beetroot is a very easy and very rewarding root veg to grow. It's also very nutritious and forms the base of many different dishes across the world. It can be grown throughout most of the seasons and in many different climates. However, it can sometimes be a little bit finicky when it comes to germination rates. So in this video, I'm going to show you 3 ways to make sure you get more consistent and better germination rates when you plant your next batch of beetroot seeds. So to cut a long story short and to get down to the point, the 3 ways to increase the germination rates of your beetroot seed, which I'm going to be talking in more detail about, is firstly to soak your seeds, secondly to multi-sow your seeds, and thirdly to make sure you plant them in modules or trays. Before I get into any of the details, please remember to subscribe to the channel. If you've got any questions about anything, like what we've done, drop down a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. And please share it so we can all share the knowledge and get growing together. So step 1, which is soaking your seeds. There's quite a bit of information here, but I don't want to overwhelm you. In essence, what we are doing by soaking the seeds is we are breaking the cycle of seeds that have a hard outer coating, and beetroot is one of them. Usually beetroots would go to seed in their second year, they are biannuals, and form the flowers and seeds during summer, autumn, drop them. They would then spend winter, whether it's rain, cold, ice, frost, whatever, in the ground, where that outer coating would then soften and start breaking down. And then once the warmer temperatures arrive, the little plant will then start growing through the outer shell, which has now become softer. So what we're doing with soaking is we're basically softening that outside shell and busy tricking the seed into thinking it's ready to germinate and come out. So there are a couple of things here that I want to mention because there's a lot of information out there and not all of it is true. Firstly, you'll see, I'm going to bring you in close, some are floating, some are sinking, and I'm sure you've heard, if a seed floats, it's not viable, throw it away. Don't do that. You are throwing away many seeds that are not dead. Specifically with the beetroot seed, there are actually multiple little chambers within the seed, and just because it's floating doesn't mean every single one of those chambers is not going to germinate. So specifically with beetroots, if they float, plant them. Don't throw the seeds away. And secondly, you do not need to soak your seeds for days. You don't even need to soak it overnight. A handy trick when soaking is to look at the seed. You know the size, the average size when you put it in the water, and as soon as that seed starts to swell, just a little bit, you can plant it. Ultimately what's happening is that coat has absorbed liquid and is starting to swell. Once you plant that into the tray or the ground, that seed is going to continue to be exposed to moisture and it's going to continue to swell. What you don't want is to over soak your seeds, that the inside gets completely waterlogged, and then you put it in the ground, it is then exposed to a closed, dark environment, and we all know that is the perfect recipe for mold and rot. So don't over soak them. That is going to have the reverse effect and is actually going to negatively impact germination rates. The other reason we do this is for a more even germination rate. In nature, seeds are designed to not all germinate at the same time. They're about diversity and maintaining the lifespan of that plant. So if all the seeds germinated at exactly the same time, something happened naturally and all of those were wiped out, that plant has just defeated its objective of multiplying because everything happened at the same time, something hit and it's all dead. So seeds are designed to germinate in stages, so if something happens to the first batch, the next batch is coming through, which is why you'll quite often find with beetroots, some of your seedlings are this big, some are this big, and some are only starting to germinate. So what we're doing with the soaking is to break the cycle of all of them at the same time so that we hopefully get a more even germination rate. The second way to increase the germination rates of your beetroot seeds is to multi-sow. So what we're doing with multi-sowing is we're adding more than one seed per cell. And I'm planting it into this module, this tray over here. And you'll see I've just put my finger in slightly compressed the soil, just so that there's enough to be able to put some seeds in. And then what I'm doing is I'm taking 2 to 3. I like to take three seeds like that, and we're putting 3 per hole. They don't need to all be together. They can be slightly spread out, or they can be on top of each other. It really doesn't matter. And why we want to multi-sow our seeds is pretty simple. There are actually 4 reasons why you should multi-sow your seeds. Firstly, it can double, if not triple, your harvest in the same amount of space. So what we're doing is we're going to keep the spacing about the same as what we normally would, so about 10 centimeters apart. However, we're putting 3 seedlings within that space. So we are getting double, if not triple, the amount. Secondly, is it allows for a more consistent harvest. And what I mean by that is, if you have 3 beetroot seedlings growing, you have the option to harvest some of them as baby beets. Then if you have 3, you take 1 as a baby beet, and then later on you can even harvest another one as a medium-sized beet and let the other one go full size, if not bigger. So you don't really have space issues like people expect you to have. The second reason why you want to do this is it allows you to choose the strongest seedling if you wanted to do single plantings. You obviously get to see them all come up. You can see which ones are strong, which ones are weak, pinch off the little weak ones and let the strong ones grow. Then what it also allows is it gives you a backup. So here we have a whole bunch of seeds multi-sown. If for instance in this cluster there are 3 seeds, 2 of them don't germinate, 1 of them do, we still at least get some beetroot out of this little seedling. Where if I show you here as an example, these are some Chinese cabbages, you'll see that there's quite inconsistent germination. Nothing there, nothing there. There's 1. However we look, there's 2 over there. 2, 2. So you can see how the multi-sown seedlings have provided the backup for where some of the seeds have not germinated. So it's a great backup when multi-sowing. Okay, so once all your seeds are planted, all you do is you simply take another handful of compost. We have homemade compost that I'll link the video. We use bokashi to make our own compost. It's very light, very fluffy. So you'll see there's still some sticks and organic matter in it. That's perfectly fine. You just put it over the top, just pat it down, don't push the cells down, you don't want the soil to be too compact, and then you simply wipe off the excess and you water, and that's it. You're going to have quite a lot of beetroot seedlings growing in quite a small amount of space. The third way to increase the germination rates of your seeds is to plant in module trays or seedling trays. So I'm going to talk you through the planting in module trays while I walk over to a beetroot bed where we've multi-sown our beetroots, so you can see firsthand what it looks like and how much beetroot you can actually grow in quite a small amount of space. So why we want to sow in module trays is pretty straightforward, and that is primarily to avoid, firstly, birds. Birds love seeds and they can smell them out. Quite a few times I've planted beetroot in the ground and come back and there have been a couple of small holes in places. So what we want to do with the module trays is we want to control and limit that. So if we can plant our beetroot in module trays in a greenhouse or in a controlled environment, we know we don't have birds busy pecking out the seeds. Secondly are worms, slugs, snails that just love love tender new little seedlings. Once again, if it's in a module or tray or whatever, in a controlled environment, you don't have those issues. If it's planted out in the garden, it's exposed to everything. So we remove that element as well, which then increases the germination rates across the board. So now we know why we should be planting in module trays, which you saw why I did there earlier. Okay, so here is a bed of multi-sown beetroots. The whole bed is beetroot, and you can see, if I show you in here, there are 1, 2, 3 beetroots in there. These are still quite young. It's bull's blood, which is why the leaves are all red. And you can see there's a huge amount of beetroot planted in quite a small amount of space. So what we're going to do here is harvest these as baby beets, nice and sweet, small, put them into roasts, grate them up, and then free up some space for the others to grow. But I'm quite happy with leaving 2 in per row. If you look here, you can see the rows. I've given enough space between the rows. That's about a 10-15 centimeter planting between each one. And then if we look here, another 10 to 15 centimeters. So there's more than enough circumference for the beets to grow out. But yeah, you can see not a lot of space, lots of beetroot, all evenly germinated. They're all roughly the same size, and we get a more predictable harvest. Okay, so there you have it, 3 easy ways to increase the germination rates of your beetroots that don't take extra time. It's a little bit of extra effort, but what you get in return, it's completely worth it. So just to recap, firstly, soak your seeds. Secondly, multi-sow them so that you can double, triple, if not more, your harvest, and also create a backup. Thirdly, plant them in seedling trays or modules. I hope you got some information out of this that can help you in the garden, help you grow more, become more sustainable in the way you live. Please do subscribe to the channel. If you enjoyed what you saw, please drop a comment. I'd love to hear what you have to say. Share it. Thanks for watching, and keep safe.